And your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only like 11 people alive of the 200 and something crew, and the entire ship was rotting down to the waterline. That's destiny. That's will. That's striving. That's being a trailblazer, an explorer, going into space, mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty, its incredible detail. Tuning into it. They want to shatter your mind talking about Justin Bieber.
Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy Monday, everybody. Somebody said happy Monday in the chat. What the hell's with that? Kev Keith, what the hell? Mundane? No such thing. We speak no mundane here. We speak ye no mundane. Shout out to our 500 subscribers on Rumble this morning. Oh, is that Arnie? Usually Arnie comes right to the door here right before I start to get a treat, but he didn't come today. So we might have to interrupt the show at some point here if he ever shows up. But what the heck? What was I doing here? Oh, yes. If you haven't yet, make sure you head over to, if you're watching this, we got a good crew over on YouTube this morning, bright and early. Check out Rumble. That's where the rednecks are. And if you show up there, you say hello. Somebody might even buy you a membership. The way she goes. And if you're watching from Rumble today, I see a lot of beautiful faces there this morning. If you're watching from Rumble, make sure just say hi. Give us a little heart. Give us your favorite emoji over in Rumble today. If you're watching, if you've been enjoying, pretty easy to do. And it costs you nothing. Zero, zilch. Beautiful day here today. Too nice. Makes me sad that I'm inside right now. Look at that. Oh, my God. Who painted that? Who painted that beautiful sky? Shout out to whoever did. Shout out to whoever did, also known as the creator of us. And depending on who you talk to, could be anybody. But anyways, Kev says, my day here, not the show. Okay, there you go. So this one is titled Bitcoin is Proving Its Resilience. And the thumbnail had something about Saylor. I know we don't like talking about Saylor stuff all the time, but once in a while, I think it's important because this is a big one today. I think last time Saylor sold Bitcoin, it was like 30 Bitcoin. It was almost like a joke. But this one was a little more serious. I think he sold like 35.88. I saw good number, 35.88. I don't know if there was any numerology there or any sort of significance behind it, or he just needed some cash. But we're going to spend some time talking about that today and what it means for Bitcoin, what it means for us, and whether it's a good or a bad thing. But before I say what I think, I want to hear your opinion in the chat. Saylor selling 3,588 biddies, good or bad, or doesn't matter. So shout out to our subscribers over on Rumble. We hit 500, which I never thought we would see. But here we are. We got 30 people over there today, and we shouldn't leave out our friends on the Zap stream this morning either. We should give them a shout out. Even though it says there's 0 people over there, I don't think that that's true. Maybe it is. It always says 0, so I don't know if there's ever 0 there or if it's just a bug. But if you're watching over on Zapstream this morning, make sure you say hello. Say hello, and we should tell our friends on Nostr that we're live. Get them in here. Get this chat room fired up. I'm surprised I'm still here, to be honest with you. I thought after our Saturday show we would be gonzo. But for some reason, they let us come back here this morning. For some reason, they let us come back. So shout out to YouTube. Although I pulled the video from there. I pulled the video. So if you are if you're watching this one on YouTube today, you can actually go back onto Rumble and you can watch the Saturday show that we did. It was really good. Probably one of the better shows we've ever done, I would say. It was 3 hours and 42 minutes long, man. It shouldn't have been that long. I kind of messed up. Although there's 500 people that watched it on Rumble, so I don't know. That just seems too long. If I ever see a video that's 3 hours long, I'm like, oh my God, I need like 4 days to watch this. So it's unfortunate because there was a lot of good information in that video. And I was tempted to kind of clip it up and take out some of the in-between stuff and repost it. But I don't know. It just seems like a lot of time. The people who want to watch it will find a way to watch it. 3.5 hours long, 3 hours and 40 minutes long. And it is only available on Rumble. Just because we went into a couple different topics that I don't think are as unfortunate as it is to say. I don't think that they'll be too good on certain platforms. So I pulled it from some, but it's still available on Rumble if you want to watch it. It was a good one. Scotty said, "Who's Saylor?" That's what I'm talking about. Saylor is a clown, also spamming us with anti-spam software. Kind of ironic. Niagara says, if having one entity control huge amounts of Bitcoin is a risk, then we should be happy when that entity sells. I agree with that. Noggles. Oh, I love that one. Noggles 44. Love that name. Love that logo too. Said, be curious to see if you saw the Gary Cardone interview. That guy already bored of Bitcoin while wearing a Satoshi shirt. Clown. Yeah, I think he's kind of lost the plot. I don't know if he ever had the plot, to be honest with you. I think that he was, I don't know. I like Gary. I do. I've watched quite a few of Gary's streams. I just like how he presents himself. I don't know. But that doesn't mean he's right about Bitcoin or on track with Bitcoin. It's something we've been talking about. It's like you got to find the gray. Like I can still like Gary Cardone without agreeing with his stance on Bitcoin. That's okay. It's okay to do. You probably won't agree with everything that I say, but that doesn't mean you should just stop watching the show, because there's a lot of good info here. And the whole goal of this channel, it's called Reason to Believe. So there's a couple different goals, I guess, big picture wise. One of them is just to give some sense of hope for the future. Because me personally, the next 10, 20, 30 years that I foresee are going to be unrecognizable for the last 120 years of slavery that we've had. So I'm very hopeful for the future. I do these shows to try to portray that and spread that message. But also, I understand how serious this is. I understand the nature of where we are right now. And, you know, it's very easy to get caught up in the weeds. In Bitcoin, it's very easy to get off track and pulled in this direction and divided. But, you know, I think if you're here, you need to be focused on your Bitcoin custodianship. You are the custodian of your family's Bitcoin. That's your main job as a human being right now. If you manage to get here, you manage to get some sats, you need to figure out how to protect those sats, because those sats are worth 100, 1,000 or more times what the fiat price tells you today. That's the reality. And so that's really what we try to talk about most around here, but sometimes we get off topic. And like I said, you're not going to agree with everything that I say. You're just not. It would be terrible if you did. I would question you on the other side of this. In that situation, I would question you, because when you're listening to people and you're not thinking for yourself, that's a big problem. So I always encourage debate. I always encourage arguments in the chat, not, not harmful, not disrespectful, but also to find the gray. So Gary Cardone, yes, I enjoy Gary. I would never say a bad word about him. I don't think that he understands what's happening in Bitcoin, but most people don't. That's the reality. And actually, that's maybe where we will start the show today, because I found this video this morning and I think it's very applicable to share right now. Just to kind of remind us, you know what I mean? We definitely are in an echo chamber. There's no doubt about that. But as long as we can kind of understand that, I think we're going to be much better off. Because if you're the worst thing you can do is be in an echo chamber and not know that you're in an echo chamber. So I want to show this video. It's about a minute long. It's a pretty good video. And it's just a good reminder more than anything else. So let's listen to, I don't know who this girl is, but I like her. So let's check this out. I'm pretty sure she works at Bitbox. That's the idea here. She works at Bitbox, which is a hardware device that I've heard good things about. I've never used one myself. I wouldn't recommend it to people, but I've heard good things about it. But this is Bitbox. And she said, Bitcoin conferences are a bubble. And I don't think she means a bubble like it's going to pop, like it's oversaturated. I think it's a bubble because like an echo chamber kind of thing. So let's watch this video here.
Bitcoin conferences are a bubble. Let's go to tech conference. Italy, more than 70,000 people around. Robots, drones, playing football, and just one Bitcoin booth. Hours. We spoke for 3 days with countless engineers, people working in AI, but still they had no clue about what Bitcoin really is. Self-custody, KYC, seed phrase, hardware wallet, nothing. Every conversation started from zero. Lesson 1, never assume people know. Not at a booth, not in your pitch, not on your website, not on your social media, nowhere. But here's the twist. Our colleague Luca gave a talk. Why we need money independent of governments and how to keep it safe with open source tools. And more people showed up than we expected. Lesson 2, people want to learn. They just don't know where to start. Give them a door and they'll walk through it. Final count, almost no sales. But we got one invitation at the University of Bologna, one of the oldest universities in the world. They offered us a full day speaking of Bitcoin, freedom technologies, and self-custody. Which one is worth more? The thing is, Bitcoin conferences are a bubble. Everyone knows kind of everything there. It's comfortable. Outside, most people are at zero. We needed this to remind us we are much earlier than we think. And if you're watching this, you are a pioneer.
Amen. I mean, we talk about it all the time here. It's like if you walk down the street or you stood on the street corner, asked 1,000 people about Bitcoin, you could probably have like five or so different questions to see what their level is. But most people wouldn't even get past zero, like level zero of explaining even what it is. But that's like the average person. You know what I mean? Like you'd probably have a hard time finding 1, 2, 3 out of 1,000 that could explain the difficulty adjustment and explain proof of work and explain the halving schedule and the importance of that and the fixed, the known, the predictable supply. Why, what gives Bitcoin its value? The fact that you can put 12 words in your head and travel anywhere with all of your wealth. Maybe one out of 1,000 people would know that, maybe. But then you look at something like that, and I feel like that's much more applicable because they talked about people who are working in AI, people who are engineers, computer scientists. Even those people have no idea what's happening here, have no idea what Bitcoin is. And the fiat price that we see is a reflection of that. That's all that it is. And, I think it's important because we talk about expectations here all the time and getting rid of all of your expectations. And the more you can do that, the less expectations you have in your life, the better your life is going to be. Because really, that's the only time that people are ever sad or mad, frustrated, disappointed, is when they go into it with expectations. But if you understand where we are, understand that we are all of us pioneers in this, understand that this is going to take some time, understand that this is probably a 1,000-year project in Bitcoin. And then day to day, nothing really matters. And that's why it's so important, just kind of the stoic accumulation, the stoic systematic accumulation of equity. That's what Bitcoin is. It's equity in the world. And I was thinking about this the other day. This is an interesting thought. Do you guys remember? Let me see if I can find it here. Because this is how I view Bitcoin. So if we look at, I'm sure everybody here has seen this, but I don't think most people understand what this means exactly. So where is this image? Right here. I'm pretty sure this is the one. I'm pretty sure this is the one we're thinking about here. So the Simpsons have been infamous for their predictions. And it's interesting because we just watched that video on Saturday, the Sweet Land video, where it's showing the portal. There was Tesla, there was JFK, there was Trump, there was all these presidents with this orange folder jumping through the portal. And you could probably interpret that many different ways. To me, I thought of time travel. And I think that when we think of time travel ourselves, it's much different than what time travel actually is. And I don't know what time travel actually is. I just know it's not what we think it is. And I know for a fact that there are different portals in this universe that people have discovered and that haven't told us about. So to say that Satoshi was a time traveler, I think checks out in my mind, because I don't think that a human being could have designed something so perfect as Bitcoin. But the Simpsons predicted that Bitcoin is going to infinity here. So it was interesting because across this ticker, if you watch the clip of this, Bitcoin was the only thing that had the infinity logo there. And I always thought, when I saw that, I was like, okay, so the Simpsons know that there is no ceiling on Bitcoin. Most people know that. They're like, there's no ceiling on Bitcoin because there's no bottom on fiat. Most people understand that. I think if you can grasp that aspect, then you're going to do pretty well for yourself in Bitcoin, which basically means that they're forced forever to print as much USD. There's no way out of it. There's no stopping, as Lynn Alden says, there's no stopping that train. Like, they have to continuously print more money forever. There's no way around it. They can't fix it. They can't stop it. They can't do anything about it. It's going up forever. The amount of US dollars are going up forever, which means that the price of everything will also go up forever because there's more units chasing those things. So I think most Bitcoiners understand that part of it, is that Bitcoin has no ceiling. There's no top. There's no high that we're going to get to in Bitcoin, and then it stops. It will go up forever to infinity. So I think most people get that. But here's the part that I kind of wrapped my head around recently. And I don't know if I'm out to lunch here or not, but the reason why I believe it's infinity, let me see this, top asset classes right here. I think it's because of this. So when we look at this right now, and this is just an indicator of where we are on the timeline right now, like this is the top assets by market cap. And so you see gold here, you see NVIDIA, you see Apple, you see Google, you see these different commodities, you see these different companies, you see some funds. And of course, you see Bitcoin at number 15. So you also notice that with the commodities, you have gold and you have silver and you have Bitcoin, and they're kind of treated the same way. I think purple is a cryptocurrency. But the point that I made a couple of weeks ago is that, like, when this plays out on the other side of this, Bitcoin's not going to be on this list. Bitcoin's never going to get to be number one. And so when you go back to that Simpsons, where was that? You go back to the Simpsons thing that we were looking at right here. It says infinity. So all these other investments, assets, GME, Fox, all these other investments here, they have dollars. They're denominated in dollars. And so the point that I was trying to make here a couple of weeks ago is that Bitcoin will never get to number one. Obviously, it's going to be worth more than gold, but it also depends how you're measuring it. because I don't think that this is difficult to explain, because gold, you can see all these prices here. They're all measured in, I think this is in Canadian dollars here. That's why these are higher, because Bitcoin is 88,000. Yeah. So these are all in Canadian dollars here. But most people would see US dollars, but that's what these are being measured in. US dollars. That's what the market caps are based on, is the total amount of supply times the price equals the market cap. But the problem is that they're all in dollars. They're all priced in dollars. And that's why you don't see US dollars here on this list. Even though the monetary supply is like $25 trillion, why don't you see US dollars on this list? It's because the US dollar is what measures everything. And I think that Bitcoin is infinity according to the Simpsons, because Bitcoin is going to be the new US dollar. Bitcoin is going to be the new unit of measurement. And so it's worth infinity because it's going to reprice everything, and it's going to be the unit of measurement of everything. And so when you have a currency, like, you can't say the same with the US dollars, because they will print US dollars forever. So there's never going to be that same kind of infinity, because there's always going to be US dollars increasing in the supply to match our productivity of the world, the amount of things that we create and produce. But Bitcoin's a different dynamic, because Bitcoin has a fixed supply of it, which actually makes it a much better unit of account than US dollars, because of its fixed known supply. So when you think about it that way, you have everything that we produce, everything that we create, all the things around us, everything. That's the top line. That's the top line in this equation. Bitcoin is the bottom line. It's the fixed number. And so the fixed number at the bottom never changes, but the amount of things on top, what we produce and create, it's going to expand forever. It's going to become more abundant. The amount of things that we have are going to become more abundant, because it's easier to make them. We're more efficient at them. We can make more with technology. Technology allows that top number to continue to grow forever. And as technology improves, that top number grows even more. So you have a bottom number that never changes. It's completely fixed. And you have a top number that expands forever. The amount of things that we create will expand forever at an ever increasing pace. And so what happens with that is that prices of those actually come down. And so Bitcoin doesn't have a price. That's the whole point. That's why there's the infinity logo there. Bitcoin doesn't have a price. It'll never get to be number one here, because Bitcoin is going to be what's measuring these things. And the prices of things in a fixed supply will go down forever. So gold could still be number one, but it's going to continuously go down in Bitcoin terms. It's not going to keep going up. Like, if you looked at this top assets by market cap from like 10 years ago, this would be like half of this probably. But because we're measuring in US dollars, it continues to go up forever, because there's more and more units at an ever increasing rate chasing these scarce commodities, shares, etc., real estate. So that's why the price of things go up forever in US dollars, because there's more and more units available going around chasing these different commodities and investments. So gold will probably still be at the top, because it's the closest thing we have to hard money. You can make more NVIDIA shares. You can make more Apple shares. You can make more of all this. Gold is a little bit harder to make. Silver, probably even harder to make, which is a separate conversation. But gold will probably stay at the top, except there's going to be two differences. Number one, it's going to be priced in Satoshis. So then that's the point that I'm trying to make here. If all these things are priced in Satoshis, there's no like price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is what prices everything else. So that's the two differences, is that they'll be priced in Satoshis, and their price will come down forever. They won't go up. Gold won't go up forever. It's actually going to go down forever against Bitcoin. Everything else that you can make more of will go down forever against Bitcoin, because you can make more of everything else. Literally everything else on this planet you can make more of, except for one thing, and that's going to be the thing that measures everything else. So that's an unlock that not too many people on this planet have. And we started this conversation talking about Gary Cardone, and him being bored of Bitcoin. It's because he doesn't understand this. And not many people do. Not many people do. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong, or that doesn't mean that we're wrong. That just means that they haven't put in the amount of time to understand what this means. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, what have I missed here? Sorry, folks. Let me go to Zapstream. Oh, it is working. Moravian's over there. We got one person over in Zap. Well, I don't know if there's one person, but one person zapping this morning on Monday morning. And it is our guy, Moravian. So thank you, Moravian. I'm trying to get up here we go. Quote. I should tell Noster that we're live. Done. So Moravian with a double shot of espresso to start the week. Thank you, my friend. That helps a lot. That helps get the week going here in the right direction. I appreciate it very much. So that's kind of the crazy thing to me too, is like I've talked about that a couple times now. It's been a while since I talked about that last. But I feel like even the people who watch the show regularly, they have a hard time grasping what that means. So you'd imagine if people who have been in Bitcoin understand Bitcoin and have immersed themselves in Bitcoin, they don't understand that. Imagine the average person trying to understand that. It would just be like a different language, but that's what it is. And I think it's important to understand that as well, is that Bitcoin is a different language and money is a language. The US dollar is a language, and Bitcoin is very similar to a language. And it takes a lot of time. It's like if you had the average person, you said, hey, let me give you this 2-hour video on how to speak Spanish. Think about that. You give the average person a 2-hour video that you send them. They're like, here you go, learn Spanish. They watch the video. What do you think after 2 hours they take away from it? They might know a couple different words. They might, maybe, best case, I'd say best case, they know a couple words that they could say in Spanish. Best case. Worst case is they're just, none of it makes any sense because it's a different language. So they don't do anything. They don't take away anything from it. It's the same as Bitcoin. You give somebody a 2-hour video on Bitcoin, even if it's like a perfect presentation of it, they might take away like 2 or 3 things, maybe maximum. Most people wouldn't have a clue what is being talked about at all. So Bitcoin is a language. It's very similar to that. And it takes years, just like a language is, to understand and perfect. And even if you're in Bitcoin for 10 years, you still haven't perfected it. There's so much to know because it's so different than what we have. Okay, Mark's over in Zapstream too. Mark 65 Sats says happy Monday with 1650, the Mark Zap. Thank you, Mark. And we got a couple more here to report. We got a shot of espresso from our guy, Chuck. Chuck with a shot of espresso with some cinnamon on top, 111 sprinkles of cinnamon on top. So thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Moravian. And I think we got one more here. Who? 2 more. One from Maria 5K before the show even started today. Maria 5K, happy Monday to you, Maria. Thank you very much. A shot of espresso from Maria. We got, and Letha. Letha the icon is in the chat today. She says happy Monday with a shot of espresso. Thank you very much, Letha. So we're off to a hot start this week. Hey, I need to do something here. I completely forgot. Okay. Okay. Never mind. Never mind. Okay. Let's see who's here. Let's see who's here. Make sure I didn't miss anything in Rumble today. We're not even on the screen here on Rumble. And we had a hot start to the week. So we are live on YouTube. We are live on Rumble. And we are live on the Zap streams. Okay, so I see a bunch of red in Rumble. A good crew over in Rumble today, a lot of red. I see only one white. And the one white happens to be a silver whale over there. We got a lot of whales. Look at this. Look at all the whales swimming over in Rumble. All the rednecks. We got the golden whales. Those are the big supporters. I think it just says supporters. But sats and sunsets. We got Chuck, silver whale. Robert, silver whale. The captain, silver whale. We got a lot of whales over there. Bitcoin nurse, silver whale. Frumble, Letha, silver whale. Rockabilly, guitar, silver whale. Lots of whales over there. Chuck said his Nostr stream's frozen. That's not good. Okay. Let's keep the party going here. Should we start with the TC, the time chain? There's Sats and Sunsets right there. We got Ginger. We got 21 Hats, Jake. We got Yogi, Shambalikar. Hey, he just says, hey. He or she. Scotty Boy, 99 BTC Beats. What are you doing on YouTube? You trader? Said, hello, is this the right place to be first in the chat? No, you're right behind Yogi. Oh, there he is. He's on Rumble now. There's Scotty Boy. Scotty on Rumble. Maria 2500. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, Kev. Sats and Sunset says mundane. The hell? Eatable Zebra Stripes. Good morning, Chuck. CWH13. Good morning. Stell's Row. Robert says good morning, everyone. Some amazing World Cup matches over the weekend. When does the U.S. play? Is that today? Canada lost. Sats and Sunsets. Are we calling the show 56 or 57? Not sure if Saturday counted. I was going to say, is this going to be 57 or 58? Because Saturday's show was like the equivalent of at least 2 or 3 shows. So what is it? Is it 56? No. Is it 57? Probably. 58? Maybe as well. But I'd say we'll go with 57. Let's go 57. Let's say that the Saturday show was 56. I think we got to include that. It was a live stream. It was 3.5 hours. If we're not counting that, I don't know what we're doing. Beans is here. Good morning, Beans. Captain. Good morning, Captain. Micah's here. She says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Micah. Johnny Midas. I got a little tickle in my nose. I might have to sneeze. Good morning, Johnny. Good to see you, my friend. There's Mark. Mark's on Rumble. Mark's on Zapstream. Mark's everywhere. Plural says, Saylor sold? What do you mean? I thought he was the god of all bit shitcoiners. Micah said, what's the title of the show you did on Saturday? I'll do you one better. I'll give you the exact link. It was called The Beginning of a New Era. Happy 250th America. There you go. And it was 3.5 hours long. Hang on a second. Bless me. Excuse me. Bless me. Run BIP 110. Sorry if that was confusing. No, it wasn't confusing. It wasn't confusing. I was just saying, isn't it ironic that the BIP 110 crew who claim to be against spam are always the ones spamming the chats and comments? Matt FRL says, good morning, team. Good morning, Matt. The Massacre 1234 says, what is BIP 110? Trying to get me going. Bitcoin Barber says, good morning, Jor. I don't know if Saylor is a clown, but strategy recovered Friday to $96. Bitcoin Barber says, Jor, you are equity in the world. Hey, we're all equity in the world. Every one of us. BTC is our heirs version of the pyramids. Yeah, that's a great point. I would subscribe to that theory as well. Plastic's here. Plastic still hasn't given me his freaking nickname. So I guess we'll just keep calling him Plastic. We need receipts, Jor, of this time travel that you're talking about. I don't have receipts. That's the issue. A lot of things you don't have receipts for. They're just, I don't know what you'd call them even. Connections? It's hard. It's difficult. There's a lot of things, a lot of theories I have in my head that don't really have any official things that you could point to say, point to one thing and say, that's why I believe that. It's usually a culmination of like 10, 15, 20 different things that I've seen that have kind of formulated into one other theory. So it's difficult. It's difficult. Bitcoin Nurse says Simpsons has been right every time on their predictions. Mr. Burns was Jacob Rothschild. Yeah, you probably ain't wrong about that. It is Monday today, right? Yeah, it is Monday today. And we usually have Brandon on here today. I haven't heard from him though yet. But I was going to do a shorter show anyways today because I got some stuff that I need to take care of. And I'm still recovering from the 3.5 hour stream. Just kidding. Oh, there we go. Brandon did message me. Shit. Oh, it was only 6 minutes ago. Okay. Sorry for the delay here. Sorry for the silence. Okay, let me send over the invite. Bitcoin is going to infinity. Bitcoin's going to infinity because it's going to be the thing that's measuring everything. So the purchasing power, and there's actually was that on Twitter? I think that was on Twitter. Let me see if I can find it. There's actually a good post about this today. What's my name? Jor. No, it's 88 sats. Jeez, I don't even know. How am I supposed to tell other people my handle? I don't even know it myself. Where'd it go? Right here. So this is really why. I mean, this is another component, another angle to think about from AA hashtag VIP 110. I like that one. I might put mine in there. The VIP 110. But they said Satoshi didn't say Bitcoin will hit $1 million. He said something intellectually stronger. The supply is predetermined. If users grow, the value per coin increases. Very simple. It's very simple. The supply is predetermined. If users grow, the value per coin increases. That was from Satoshi himself. Which means if the supply is predetermined, if the supply is fixed, there's X amount of units available. And if the number of people who want those units, aka users, if that number grows, then there's more people chasing the same amount of scarce units. So the value of those units goes up forever. That's another angle of the Bitcoin goes to infinity. As long as there's more people, as long as the demand, the adoption continues to grow in Bitcoin, the supply doesn't change overall. I mean, it's going to change, but we're already at 20.05 million. So the supply is pretty much already all out there, and everybody pretty much counts Bitcoin as 21 million. So let's just say the 21 million, 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis, that's the fixed amount. That never changes. That never increases. So as long as there's more people using Bitcoin, as long as the demand for it grows, then the value of those units goes up forever. And then you also consider the fact that there's going to be more and more everything forever. And if Bitcoin does become the unit of measurement, which would make the most sense, then the value of those Satoshis will go up forever. Or will it even be value? Or will it be the price of everything else comes down forever? I would say both of those two things are correct. Personally. Okay. Oh, shoot. What's going on here? What am I doing? Panic mode. There we go. There's Letha right there. Frumble. She says, good morning, guys. Good morning, Letha. Nice to see you in the chat today. There's Rockabilly. 1943 Marco. Good morning. Thanks for joining us over on Rumble this morning, Rockabilly. Michael Saylor. The Massacre says, need that take. Needed that take. Yeah, I mean, if you understand that, if you understand what I'm saying there, then your experience in Bitcoin is going to be much better, I believe. And again, who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe everything that I'm saying here today is just complete fantasy land, like some people believe. Okay. Okay, so it sounds like Brand's going to be hopping on here, I believe. But we'll maybe extend the show a little bit today. If Brandon comes on, we'll go a little bit longer today. Chuck said, my Zap is not showing up yet. I see her here, Chuck. I see her here. Even if you don't see it on Nostr, they were received. So thank you, my friend. Name your favorite movie that's so bad it's good. I'll go first. Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. Name your favorite movie that's so bad it's good. I don't know. You could say that about a lot of movies that we watched as kids. They were bad, but we didn't really realize it because you don't have the same kind of lens when you're a kid. You just accept everything as being true, being real. I mean, I watched Sandlot. It was funny because I was planning to watch Sandlot for the 4th of July on Saturday. And then, whoa. The music just cut out here. What the hell? But I was going to watch the Sandlot, and then BTC Backpackers tagged me in a post on Nostr talking about Sandlot. So then I started watching it. And I wouldn't say Sandlot's like so bad that it's good, but like the beast, the big dog in Sandlot, terrible. Like there's literally I'm pretty sure there's a human inside of that costume. Or it's like a very bad mechanical, I don't even know what you'd call it, but it's bad. And as a kid, you're like scared of that thing. You're like, oh my God, the beast. But now it's like, that could not be any more fake. Raphael's here. VD Berg, Bitcoin, says, what's up, George? Good morning, Raphael. Good to see you, brother. What did I miss? Captain says, is it okay to share another Bitcoin-related Rumble channel? Of course, if you can share it in there. BIP 110 is a PSYOP. Yeah, you could argue that for sure. Lee J, Jason's here. Good morning, Jason. Captain said, bless you. Thank you. Buck 52 is here. Good morning, Buck 52. Caller Doge says, if Bitcoin will be the peg in the system, is okay to keep Bitcoin in the bank? No, way less stress. If Bitcoin will be the peg, the system is okay to keep BTC in the bank? No. Sorry, Caller Doge. I don't really understand what you're saying there, man or woman. But that's it. I don't really know what you're saying there. Oh, I missed some zaps. Okay. So yes, we had Moravian. We have Chuck. I see Chuck's now. I see Letha's now. I see Mark's 65 sats. I see. Wow, Sats and Sunsets. Love that one. He said 5657 today. So we're going to count that one for sure as a zap. Sats and Sunsets. Thank you, my friend. And Machoko, Bitcoin Academy says, hi, I just joined you guys. I'm new and happy to be here. Good morning, Machakos Bitcoin Academy. Love that. And Plurals here, Zap 91 Sats and said freedom. Freedom to all, and to all a good night. Okay, I got to go put the music back on here. It's too quiet. I like quiet, but not when I'm doing a show. So give me a second here.
There's two things that keep me bullish no matter what's going on. One, it's a 10x, more than a 10x improvement over its predecessor. I'm a gold holder and I'm a Bitcoin holder. And I can tell you, having used both, Bitcoin's better in every single way. Every single way. History shows that technology, as it evolves and we head to those 10x multiples, it takes over. And the second thing is, look at the quality of people who are Bitcoiners. Look at the diversity of their backgrounds. I'm a tunnel engineer. There's people who are doctors. There's people come from all these like fascinating, interesting backgrounds, and they've all converged on the same thing, being like Bitcoin's like the best thing since sliced bread. You're telling me that all of these smart INTJ engineer types, they're all dumb and idiots? Like, no. The most bullish thing about Bitcoin is the people who get attracted to it. I'm not betting against those people. So many Bitcoiners came up and grew up in an era where the world hated Bitcoin. Every headline was negative. Every government didn't like it. It's getting banned. It's getting shut down. And yet we still formed enough conviction to be like, no way. I'm putting my whole life savings in this thing. We all formed a consensus that this thing kicks ass independently, whilst everyone was telling us that we were dead wrong, and we stuck to our guns. I'm sorry, I'm not betting against those people. They get it.
You ain't wrong. Check, you ain't wrong. Checkerboard ain't wrong. Checkers ain't wrong. Oh, wait, we got the music back. We are back. We don't have Brandon here yet, though. I don't know. Maybe he's bailing today. Maybe he's bailed on us. Oh, he says listening to you and catching up. So he's doing some pre-work on the show. I forgot to share my nice mug this morning. I used to have this one on Fridays, but I figured this is a better one for Mondays. Whoa, my God, that was a big bee. There's this one bee. I think I've talked about this before, but it's always around here. Every time I go outside, well, not every time, but a lot of times. I thought it was a drone for a while. It's so big, but it's literally like this big. It is massive. Probably this, and it's all black. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's the most horrifying thing I've ever seen, but it doesn't look like it's out to hurt anybody. It's weird. But anywho, he just came by the window here to say hi. Okay, Bitcoin Nurse said, hey, Bitcoin Nurse, I think you left on Friday. I think you were gone for our 3.65 hour show that we had. But I got the zap. It was I think the biggest zap of this biggest. No, it wasn't. It was, and then it wasn't. But it was a big zap on Friday. So I just want to say thank you that you're knowing that you're here for sure. So thank you for the very large zap on Friday. That was very, very generous of you, my friend. Senior Gringo Poppy is here. Good morning. And Robert said, thank you, Letha, for the zaps on my new Noster post. Bitcoin extremist, living the Bitcoin standard. I saw that one, Robert. I think I shared it, right? Captain says, Bitcoin news alerts. JV goes over updated news around Bitcoin from credible news sources. Show starts around 4 p.m. Oh, that's the channel. Okay. Bitcoin news alerts. JV. No, Bitcoin news alerts. Oh, I'm glad to have music back. Bitcoin news alerts. Yeah, you don't get really much for news here, unfortunately. No, he's got a good following on. I don't really like the thumbnails, but that's just me. I guess if it gets eyes, seems to be working for him. But anyways, there it is right there. That's Bitcoin News Alerts. Check it out. We got the captain here endorsing it. 4 p.m. Eastern time. Colorado says, why not keep Bitcoin in the bank? Institutions allow you to buy Bitcoin, so why cold storage? Makes no sense to me if the system is solid. Okay, well, that's where you lost me. If the system is solid, no need to cold store. Regular people won't cold store. I would agree with that. Regular people won't cold store, not because they don't want to, but because they probably don't know that you can, and they probably won't have enough Bitcoin to be able to make it work. Although there's an interesting dynamic in that as well, because, you know, a lot of people they say like dust. There's dust transaction on the, and actually, by the way, I saw, Maria, if you're watching right now, I saw your message on Signal. And I do apologize. I forgot to talk about UTXO dust and change addresses in the digital homestead course. So I will do that tomorrow. And I'm sorry I forgot to do that last week. But, you know, there's these different theories that not everybody will have a UTXO. But that's not, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily true. Because it's like, well, nobody's going to have a UTXO of 10,000 sats. Why? Maybe not in 2026, maybe not even in 2036. But what about 2066? What about in 2140 when that's way more than the block subsidy? And then the block subsidies end. And then you have a pretty significant amount of sats because, again, the whole show today has been Bitcoin equals infinity. Bitcoin is the unit of measurement. As the number of people using Bitcoin grows, Satoshi didn't say Bitcoin will hit 1 million, because whenever you're putting a fiat price on something, then you're kind of like still living in the old world, in my opinion. But he said something intellectually stronger. The supply is predetermined. If the users grow, the value per coin increases. So anytime you're thinking of like a price of Bitcoin, you're still living in the old world. You're still measuring things in USD, which is fair because that's where most people still are. But that doesn't mean that's how it's always going to be. And the other part of that too is that you're kind of picking a time frame. If you say that nobody will ever take self-custody of 10,000 sats, again, maybe not in the next 50 years, but at some point in the future, you got 10,000 sats. That's going to be substantial. When one block subsidy is worth 5 sats, having 10,000 sats is going to be very substantial. So don't ever get caught up in like this will never happen or this is going to happen, because nobody knows. We don't know what's going to happen here in Bitcoin, other than it will go up forever as long as the user base continues to grow, as long as there's more demand for Satoshis. And that's another part of it too. That's another interesting dynamic in this equation here. Is that, let's just say that the user base flatlined. Let's say that everybody who's in Bitcoin today, that's all that will ever be in Bitcoin. This exact number here. But as long as those people who are here today, as long as they add more value than the people who aren't here yet, as long as their value percentage increases every year, that means they have more value to store. That means that even though there's the same number of users, the same amount of people who want Bitcoin, they have more ability to buy more of the scarce fixed supply. So then Bitcoin will also continue to go up in that same equation. Even if the users flatline, but the users contribute more and have more value to store, that means the price, or the exchange rate, I should say, will continue to go up forever. So that's really the theme today, is Bitcoin to infinity. One of the best takes, I lean on this thinking. Are we talking about check? Yeah, I agree. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Not so sure about some people around Bitcoin. Been in some Bitcoin chats that made me question my conviction. Loads of idiots. Yeah, and that's fair. And I think that that's why people who show up here in the morning, they usually come back the next day, because there's a lot of smart people in this community. A lot of very intelligent people in this community. And I'm just the guy in front of the camera, but it's really the community, it's the chat, it's everybody here who makes this what it is. And, you know, we don't get the other thing, there's intelligence there, but there's also stoicism mixed into that, because usually when people are very emotional, then they make stupid decisions, or they say stupid things, or they do stupid things. So we try to take all emotion out of it. And this is a very stoic, systematic accumulation of equity. Stoic, systematic accumulation of equity. That's what we're doing. And so all the things that you see every day, Saylor selling, the price going up and down, that's all noise. We focus more on like the long term, the signal aspect of Bitcoin here. Caller Doge says, does the $5.99 month membership provide access to your entire collection of Bitcoin information? No, for that, I would recommend joining the school. But, you know, it really depends what you're looking for, Caller Doge. Because even as a member on YouTube, you're going to get access to the digital homestead course, which I would argue is the best one. Very in-depth, talking about security, talking about privacy, talking about all these different things. We do a show every week, and I post them to the YouTube channel for members only. But the school channel, which is a little bit more per month, but you get literally everything I've ever done. Everything I've ever done. So there's like 4 or 5 different courses in there. There is the 365 days of Bitcoin, which was from 2025, where I did a Bitcoin video every day. That was crazy. So you got the course here. I believe the course might be on YouTube as well. So YouTube, you get quite a bit, but the school is where you get literally everything. You got the 21-day course. This is our digital homestead course we're working through right now. And I would say the second episode here, along with the 2, 4, and 7, I think have been the best episodes, the most valuable episodes there. And then here's the 365 days of Bitcoin. So this was every single day in 2025. We did a video. They're about 15, 20 minutes long. So those are all in the school community there. So it depends what you're looking for. Hey, look who it is. He's outside today with a USA hat on. There he is. Oh, and a shirt.
Look at that.
Oh, my God.
Ready to go. We'll be celebrating the 250 for the next 250 years.
Are you hungover?
No, 2-day hangovers. Feel good.
Feeling good?
Feel really good. Only a few pops on Sunday or Saturday. A few pops. It's fireworks.
Was it
Didn't
awesome?
shoot any rounds off though. Didn't do some too many pops had. So
Paul, that's good. You don't want to be mixing those two.
you don't want to be
together.
mixing those. Yeah, you don't want to. Not a good combo. Not a good recipe.
No.
Great to see you.
That's how people die.
Yeah. Yep. Not good.
So it was a good celebration?
Strict gun rules, gun safety rules. Yeah, it's a great celebration. Really good family. Had the family together, a lot of family together, actually. So it was a lot of fun. Got to, we had all kinds of different stuff. We watched a little bit of Redbud motocross pro national, which is kind of like the big event in pro motocross, which I love motocross. That's always around July 4th, but it was actually on July 4th. This you're in Buchanan, Michigan. So just a couple hours away from me. So very cool. Just cool day overall. Celebrations, seeing stuff around the world, really. So very cool.
Yeah, I did notice that there was a lot of different countries who were celebrating the 250 that you wouldn't really expect to. I think Japan had a big drone show with Trump in it. France, China, Canada here. Somebody shot a couple fireworks off on July 4th. Wasn't me, but I was happy to see it.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's good. Did you watch the speech that Trump gave on Saturday?
Yeah, we did actually. Oh, I thought that was, for some reason I thought that was yesterday though. Yeah, you're right. It was late. It was late that night actually. So yeah, I had seen it, or I did see it, most of it. I think almost all of it. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. I think that there's a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of Bitcoiners too. because I've seen it myself. Like I'm gonna be straight up honest. It's hard being a Bitcoiner and an American at the same time, because you learn a lot about yourself. You learn about a lot of the bad things that have happened in life, obviously. And if you asked any kid growing up, they would have been like, who's going to the military? Who's going to be a Navy SEAL? It was me, like every kid in the school. It was very known. I'd be wearing the Stars and Stripes, played for the U.S. national hockey team. And so you go through a bit of an unlearning process of like, okay, yeah, like, in 12 years of government run school, really 16 years, I guess you would count university as well, count college. And, you can see a lot of Bitcoiners, a lot of American Bitcoiners have that little bit of self-loathing to a degree, a little bit, not all, but a lot of us, and it takes a toll on you. But it's the greatest country in the world because of the documents. It's the people that came over here, obviously, and really to the Americas in general, but then the documents that were here, you really just getting regrounded in that. And just for the book that I'm writing, and just really studying the British Crown over the last 1,000 years since William the Conqueror in 1066, seeing how all of it maps with just the timelines, everything is wild. And so, yeah, it's in the Christian founding of America, which again is completely obliterated in all schools. And you see it when you go back and read the founding fathers. You read their documents, read the journals, read the stuff, read Thomas Paine, and it's pretty obvious, considering they used God, nature's God, Christianity. They actually used those words, believe it or not, and actually used in common sense. He actually says City of London as well. So just FYI.
That's the book.
Yeah, so Common Sense from 1776, argument for the Revolutionary War. They actually use, obviously, it's a ton about monarchy, Britain, England, but then City of London is mentioned at least once, maybe twice. And so, yeah, and it's fascinating. I mean, what was going on at that time? I mean, at that very time, England was fighting basically, I think, Spain and Portugal. I think Spain and Portugal might have been together at that time, technically. So you consider both of them, but they were over in India, the Dutch East India Company or British East India Company. I believe both companies. I think the Dutch one started maybe 20 or 30 years before in like 1580, and in 1600 the British East India Company started. I believe I could have that backwards, but they were over there in India at those times. So they're fighting. It's kind of like the empire, like they're fighting on all these fronts. And Thomas Paine even mentions that. He's like, yeah, it's kind of a good time. He mentions the reason that timing is good, because he's like, yeah, they're kind of distracted. They got a lot of stupid things they're doing, and this is probably not a bad time to do this. The arguments he makes in Common Sense are unbelievable. It's only 50, 60 pages, and he just shreds every single argument. It's like reading a Bitcoiner book, all the objections, and just handling each objection and just being like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Why would we be a part of the crown? We wanted to have trade. Europe does all these dumb, or England does all these dumb things, and now we get entangled in it. And we're okay with Spain, we're okay with France or whatever, and now these idiots are getting us all. So he calls the William the Conqueror the French bastard landing, because he comes over from France, and that's where he conquers and kills the interim king or whatever in 1066. And so he's like, the whole crown, which is King Charles III's line. He's the 25th or 26th grandson of William the Conqueror. He's like, the whole crown, the whole line is based on. Sorry, this guy is mowing right now.
I can't hear it.
Well, that's good. And so he's like, the whole lineage is fake, basically. He's just like, you're garbage. Like you built it off usurpation. Like you can only have the monarchy through election, through lot, through chance, or through usurpation. So obviously war, killing, taking over, whatever. And he's like, you guys did it by usurpation. And he's like, election. He just dismantles every single argument. He's just like, it's so wild. Each one, chance, he goes through that and just dismantles it in a paragraph, dismantles election, and it's all first principle thinking. It's like, well, we're having an election, but then we're going to suspend it the next time around, because now all of a sudden it's like back to hereditary. We elected someone, now we don't get to elect another one. It's like he just goes through and just dismantles every single argument in literally 50 pages, 60 pages that you could think of. And so anyway, just been doing a lot of studying on that and realizing the American exceptionalism, which is, you know, in reality, what a lot of people have rights. So the political side of things, there's a lot of people that have that right. I mean, you see it right now in the fracturing of the America itself. You have people that hate America. They hate, you've been taught to hate the founding, going back to Antonio Gramsci, communists. Like, that's the only way you can, defeat free people is to make them hate themselves. Self-loathing, you know, I hate myself, I hate my founding. It's all this shit. And that's the only way you can get people to defeat themselves, is to Edward Bernays propaganda, just inject them with propaganda. So anyway, I don't want to interrupt your show too much, because I was listening to your show and caught up to it, and that's when I jumped on finally, and I love it. I love it. Cardone, Saylor, a lot of crazy stuff happening right now. But again, I think that what we're doing here and what we do, you know, you do every day, all of us Bitcoiners, and marrying these documents together, because I'm a firm believer that the Declaration of Independence is the greatest political document. The white paper is the greatest financial document ever. And you marry all these things together, and it's going to be amazing stuff, you know, and that's where, do we all see it come to fruition? No. I mean, like, do our kids even see it, or great grandkids? I don't know. I mean, maybe not. But like, when you start going back in history, 1066 in England, 1215 Magna Carta, you know, the 1500s, like the land, 1492, like Columbus, like all these explorers. And then you get into like the 1700s, America really starting to come to fruition. The founding fathers, Thomas Paine, Washington, Thomas Jefferson, like what they were doing and what they were arguing for and against. It was just, it's so mind-blowingly wild. And of course, none of us read this stuff anymore. I'm a huge history buff, and I realized, oh my gosh, like I spend way too much time listening to current events, talking about current events, and I'm really sick of it, to be quite honest. And so really been just getting back into history and just trying to root myself in first principles truth, an actual fact. So, because you get away from it. And which was what I was alluding to earlier, of like you start kind of like, okay, America, yeah, we're the best, you know, cleanest dirty shirt in the laundry and hamper. Like, you just start kind of getting black-pilled about everything, and it's like, yeah, fuck off. Like, be proud about the Declaration, right? Like, oh, it's not that I ever wasn't, but like you look around people in America or people around the world, and are like, oh, and it's like they see, you know, people come over the World Cup and they're like, wow, this is a great place, you know. It's like, well, yeah, but that's because the media. And that's why I joke about the city of London, but it's true. All this, it's all to inject stupid shit into your head. And you talk about this all the time, Jor, right? Like, we can just build shit. We can be positive. You can just focus on the good things in life, or you can focus on the shitty things. And that's all we've done here in schooling in America and a lot of places around the world. We just focus on what's bad, what's bad, what's bad, what's bad. And it's this constant self-defeating, which is the devil. I mean, at the end of the day, it is the devil's work of trying to keep you in fear and just keep you constrained. And that's what the devil has, because the devil lives in constant misery 24/7. And he wants other people. Misery loves company, and the devil is misery. So he wants everyone else in his miserable state. And that's the only way he thinks he's going to get out of it. And it just makes it even more miserable, which is the irony of all of it. So I see it with Bitcoiners. I see it with Americans, Canadians. I see it with people, you know, you look at Europe, obviously, a lot of misery because we bring it on ourselves. We just choose to focus on the wrong shit. And so I think, you know, here on forward, 250 on, it's like, okay, let's put that behind us. Let's fucking be positive from now on. Like, let's build shit and focus on the good things that we have in life. And that to me is the MO going forward.
Amen. A frickin' man. And I actually did a show on Saturday, Brandon, that was 3.5 hours long.
So give me the TLDR really quick. So anyone, I didn't get to see it, and anyone who didn't listen, you were mentioning this. I'm very curious.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of different things. I even got into like some of the Q stuff and that the U.S. debt clock. And there's a new document that was posted on July 4th about the new golden age of America and what it would look like with a hard money currency. The U.S. Treasury adopting a new currency or creating a new currency. And basically, there's a whole plan. And I think the main takeaway that I got from that document, and again, I don't know who's running the U.S. debt clock website. I don't know who created this document. But there's a lot of things that make you go, And one of the things it talked about was like taking the Federal Reserve dollars, like these Federal Reserve notes, and coming out with this new Treasury dollar and basically giving people a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you wanted to bring in your Federal Reserve notes, you could trade them for US Treasury dollars, which would be a no-brainer if people actually knew in the difference between the Federal Reserve note, which is literally backed by promise, built on debt, versus a Treasury dollar that would be backed by gold, silver, energy, nuclear, AI. There's a whole list of like assets that would be backing the US Treasury dollar, which to me just seems logical because I don't think that there's any way out. And I think that they want to distance themselves as much as they can from that $40 trillion worth of debt. and $22 trillion worth of supply. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me that they would keep going along that road. And so the other thing I talked about too was the Declaration of Independence being a document that has survived the test of time, but has also been trampled on by different governments through the years. And I kind of compared that. And I knew that you would like this analogy of like abstract power versus real power, where the Declaration of Independence is, as much as people believe in it and want to believe in it, it's just a piece of paper that has to be enforced. And so when you have the white paper and when you have the Bitcoin network, that to me is real power, because it's not something that you can just change very easily. And it's something that's written in math and in a protocol, and it doesn't change just because a new person's elected government in this democratic process that we have here. So I really think that, and I know we've talked about this on many different shows already, but like, I just see this next chapter in America really rooting to reality in terms of the things that are energy based or energy backed are going to be the only things of value. And the thing in that document that they talked about was like it being a transition. Like, it's not just going to be a simple thing where somebody says, hey, we're using this currency now. It's going to be like, hey, here's this new currency from the Treasury that's backed by all these different things. Here's your ability to swap it one for one. You can make your own decision. It's not just like January 1st, this is where we are, and then January 2nd, we're here. It's like you're introducing these ideas. It takes a lot of time. And I really believe that that's what's been happening over these last 10 years, ever since Trump went down the escalator with a big currency exchange in the background. I don't think that was any sort of coincidence either. But it takes a lot of time. And even after everything we've lived through in the last 10 years, there's still people who are just like completely oblivious and fast asleep. But there's also a lot of people waking up every single day. And I think that that's not going to slow down. And you get to the point where once you see that, you never go back to the old world. And so that's kind of what we're seeing. I just see that right now is the transition from that world to this world. And there's people who are a little bit further ahead on the path. And there's some people who haven't really begun the journey yet, but it's happening.
Yeah, I love it. I'll have to go back and listen to it over the next day or two. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's why I was mentioning too, like it might be, a couple generations from now, it might be the next, 200, 300, 400 years from now. Right. And that's where, when you go back in history, you see that on the long arc of history, it's, these things are very obvious, number one, but number two, they play out. We have more decentralization over time, more technology over time, all these things. So going back to 1066 with William the Conqueror coming over here, a bunch of French people taking over England, stuff like that. And that's the genesis of the British crown as it stands today, which is, hilarious. But, you see all that change in 1,000 years of what happens and what has transpired. And it's wild. And that's where Bitcoin is. Yeah, it's very obvious in that sense. And we've talked about this many times. The only way people get in trouble with Bitcoin is they are trying to speed that process up.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Patience is the name of the game, right? Like you can't speed up 1,000 years of history. Like you can't speed up these things. And you just have to, we're here for the right reason at the right time. Like we just have to put in our work every single day and do what we've been called to do and tweak you're building an aircraft carrier and we're the guys called to put on some bolts, put on some of the foundation of the aircraft carrier. There's thousands and tens of thousands of people working on it over years, and right. So that's basically what it is. And you expand that out to a 500-year project. Basically, that's what Bitcoin is, and that's where all this stuff we see, whether it's the Saylor stuff, trying to financially engineer things to even if it's like I'm trying to financially engineer stuff to break the financial engineering, the most benevolent thing, but then you just see like a lot of people wreck themselves because we're trying to shortcut the process somehow. When, hey, if you just were patient and just kept providing value, making the world better, producing more goods and services to society than you were taking, life would just get better. You would have more productivity, a higher standard of living, lower costs would come, instead of trying to manufacture all this ridiculousness. Because again, like we've gone through this, right? Like Trump, hey, Bukele, hey, the Democratic Republic of Congo, whatever the hell, Congo. I mean, we've had countries in Bitcoin, people, everyone from the sun. Billionaires have talked about it. Poor people have talked about it. Smart people, dumb people, low IQ, high IQ, humble people, arrogant people. None of it's worked, right? But because humans are emotional and things take time. I mean, that's the end of the story. And like, we all want some different answer. Like, I want a different answer too, but you keep coming back to like getting beat over the head of like, this doesn't happen overnight. Like,
Yeah.
dollars are ingrained. We got rap songs for 35 years with the dollar, Benjamins. Like, that's ingrained in the culture, just like the Declaration is ingrained in Americans' brains and people around the world. Like, that ethos or whatever it is, that doesn't just leave over a decade or even 50 years or 100 years. It's going to take 500 years, 1,000 years. So.
Yeah, and Bitcoin to me is like there's nothing more American than Bitcoin to me. It represents the same kind of thing. It's an idea. And so people worry all the time. That's why all this stuff between BIP 110 and core and all this shit bothers me, because it's like, it's an idea. Even if something goes wrong somewhere or things aren't perfect this exact second, it's an idea, and it will grow over time. And as problems come up, as issues come up, we're going to find solutions to it. So yeah, we might not have all the answers to everything right now, but the way it is right now, to me, I would say we're doing pretty damn good. There's another thing too. I don't know if you had time to watch the Elon video that he posted on X. No. So it was if you're a conspiracy mind like me, which I know you are, there was a lot of comms in it, you might say. So there was my favorite clip from is right here, where Trump, this was the only mention or picture or anything of Trump in the whole video. And it was him with an orange folder jumping into a portal, just the back of him. So there was JFK on there. There was Richard Nixon. There was Ben Franklin. There was a bunch of these presidents. Obama was kind of getting taken away in the video. But anyways, I really like this part of it too. But the other thing that I wanted to ask you, Brandon, was there was this... where was this here? One of the things we talked about, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it and your take on it, was this post right here talking about gold. Where was that? 2 days ago? Here, right here. Talking about gold. And I'd never really thought of this before, but we were just kind of talking about right here. Look at, Caller Doge says gold destroys the Fed, digital gold, but there's another angle to that too, because that is one of the more famous Q drops, was gold will destroy the Fed. But if you look at this, it says, this is from a post on Nostr. It said the U.S. Mint has just priced the 1 ounce Liberty Bell gold coin at $19,600 and silver at $1,500 an ounce. These aren't random numbers. Remove the paper market manipulation, and that's exactly where gold and silver land. Is the U.S. Mint projecting the revaluation because the math checks out perfectly? When gold gets revalued to $20,000 an ounce, it exposes the Federal Reserve note as worth almost nothing. That's when the dollar and the Federal Reserve note separate. Trump will use gold and stablecoins with Bitcoin to back the actual U.S. dollar, and gold will destroy the Fed. So it's basically saying that if they revalue, if Trump comes out or the U.S. government comes out and revalues gold to, say, $20,000 an ounce, which, that's what the U.S. Mint already has it at, then that basically means the Federal Reserve note is worthless, going from the early 1900s of like $20 per ounce of gold to now $20,000 per ounce. It would make it would be very visible to everybody and very obvious that this note here, this Federal Reserve note, has no value. And so I think that would be enough of a push for people to say, hey, this is the old currency that kind of kept us enslaved for 100 years without saying it. Here's the new currency that we have that's actually backed by energy like gold and tech stocks and all these different things. And I'd never really thought about that. That would actually be a really good way for the U.S. administration right now to destroy the Fed, is by revaluing gold and basically making their paper money or even digital money now worth almost nothing. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, money is psychological, right? At the end of the day, money's a narrative. Edward Bernays, wrote about this with Propaganda, his books, public opinion, public relations, all this stuff. And really the last 100 years really got this going. And to me, it's all just a function of, again, people being, I'm trying to think how to say it, not awoke to it, awakening to this, and just in having this awakening, because, and you mentioned this earlier, right, with the Simpsons thing, which, it's going to infinity. And, it can't, this goes back to this whole timeline thing of like patience. And you can't just come out and say these things. This goes back to the City of London thing and why I've been hammering this now for a few months, and people, you know, giving me grief about it and just become this like kind of like funny shtick, right? But it's kind of interesting how few people have actually still to this point have not looked into that and done the homework and gone back hundreds of years, 1,000 years, and then just in the last, and then taking people at their word and seeing this. Yeah, I mean, trafficking, then I was just telling my wife, like trafficking runs everything, right? So any type of drug trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking, all that, that's what runs the world. So like, if you don't understand that, you don't understand anything. And that's why spiritual warfare up top, good versus evil, everything flows from that. You know, the money is right there, but like trafficking, they're all kind of one and the same, but like that's right there. And so that's how the whole trade works. This is why not to get political, but this is why people are breaking their mind over Trump, like talking to Russia and China and India and all the BRICS nations. The BRICS nations, because this is what Thomas Paine wrote about too. It was all the corruption with England and the British Crown, the shipping companies, the East India Company, and they were raping and pillaging China. They were taking the opium. There's massive famines, killing millions of people over in India and uprooting what was going on there. Already had massive problems there. Then they were going to China in the ports in the East, and then taking over China, getting them addicted to opium, went all the way up to Beijing, where, you know, pillaging the Chinese. The Chinese don't like the Brits. Just newsflash. India does not like them at all. So this is why BRICS is breaking away, because Russia, we were in managed decline. The US and Canada basically were in managed decline with the globalists over in Europe. And we were just going along. We were the mercenary army for NATO, the UN, IMF, all this stuff. 1776 really never ended. It really kind of sped up with World War I, World War II. And so we just went along with this of like, oh, okay, we're going to be in this blob. And so Russia and China basically, because we had good relations with them 100 years ago, 100 plus years ago. And so then they just saw all this and were like, what the hell are you morons doing? Like, we're not in this. We're doing our own thing eventually here because you guys are morons. You just keep going with the crown again. You don't even realize what you're doing. So this is why the globalists and the media and in government-run schools, government-run media is so up in arms, because this whole structure, which Mark Carney, Bank of England, Bank of Canada, and now the Prime Minister in Canada, admitted as much, obviously, and has completely just flat out said in the last month, hey, the old world order is completely fractured and is ripped apart. And again, this is why Bitcoiners, I don't understand why the average person just hasn't, it's not just Bitcoiners, but like even political people don't see it either. Like it's fascinating to me that even Carney's admitting this, Scott Bessent talks about this, Trump talks about this, Vance talks about it, and seemingly no one is talking about this anywhere. It's just mind-blowing to me. But you have to understand history though too, and what's actually happening, and then the Hamilton system and all this stuff, American founding, and then way before that too. So it's just fascinating. And sorry, I've gone on multiple tangents here, but the trafficking networks are what run the world. And so and it's funny that Unkster is saying here that, you know, crime wins, you know, like, and it does. Like that's what it does. But where I'm going with this though is that we're getting to this point. This is why I was bringing this up right when we came on, or right when I came on, was in a long enough time horizon, good does win. We know truth does win. It doesn't always win or manifest the way we think it's going to, but we keep getting more decentralized. We keep getting more freedom. Like none of us lived like this, you know, 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. We were all serfs of the state, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And so we keep winning, but we don't win fast enough. Like we don't win fast enough for my liking. I'll tell you that, number one. Like it's maddening, right? As a Bitcoiner, you're seeing this, like, dude, the truth is in plain sight, but the people aren't logical. That's why I was bringing up Bernays too. Bernays knew, and Sigmund Freud and all these guys, they knew humans were irrational. We had these desires underneath the subconscious, all these kind of these animal instincts almost, that we just follow the herd and do these irrational behaviors, and we voted with our emotions more than our logic a lot of times. So that's what we're living through right now, and that's why money itself has been weaponized against us. They realize, hey, I don't need the British East India Company, the Dutch East India Company, because that's visible and it's palpable. I can see people getting raped and pillaged. That's not good. That's a very expensive form of warfare. So if I can go use psychologically manipulate them, and I can use this inflationary tax of fake fiat currencies and really just ram this in overdrive, I can control the world, as we all know. And I don't control the law. It doesn't matter. I control the world because I control the money. So to me, at the end of the day, Jory, it's when this narrative finally breaks. And again, I don't think we're that close to it right now, unfortunately. But when this narrative breaks and we get to a fever pitch of a couple % of society realizing, oh, it's the Fed, oh, it's the currency we're using, and these are the institutions that allow this trafficking to go on. Like, again, we talk about JP Morgan, the banker for Epstein, right? Like all this stuff. Once we realize truly, or enough saturation point of society gets to that point, which I don't know what that is. I think it's a couple percent. Just historically, it looks like it has to be a couple percent. That's when I think we really have things change. And there you go. And then we have other problems of like, can we keep it? It's like the Republic, if you can keep it. We gave it, here it is. Can you keep Bitcoin? Can you keep sound money? Can you keep these institutions away from you? Does it last 50 years, 100 years, 500? I don't know. That's hey, those are good problems to have. We'll get to them. Right now, we're fighting this fight of getting the saturation point of, do people understand that the currency is the thing that's enslaving them and causing 85% of the ills of their life? So.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there. I mean, the first one you talked about the decentralization, and that's the sovereign individual thesis is based on the internet. And I think the internet has a couple of different prongs to it, just like everything, right? It's like Bitcoin can be used for good and bad, just like everything else. So I think that the internet, though, like what I'm seeing on the internet from my algorithm right now, and the algorithms are just kind of like a reflection of yourself, right? It's people think that they're actually targeting them with certain things. I don't think that that's the case. I think that they just want to keep you on their platforms for as long as they can, because they make money from advertisements, and the longer you spend on their platforms, the more they get paid.
Yep.
So people think it's this sinister thing, but my algorithm has been showing me things that I never would have known or seen before had it not be for the internet. So the internet itself is actually decentralizing at a very rapid rate right now. And even so, like, think about 50 years ago, before the internet. If we wanted to get this information out there, we would have to go around on fucking horses and tell people about it, right? Now we can sit on this chat, and we might be, stacked against the deck here a little bit. We might be swimming upstream, but we still have the ability to do this right now. And just that fact alone, I think, is that's never going to slow down. And that was really the sovereign individual thesis, is that once this is out there and people can freely speak and get the communication out there, they're basically just going to build their own economy in cyberspace. And really, that's what's happening right now. And Bitcoin's like the currency for that. And it's really cool to me that Bitcoin is not just the currency of the internet, but it's a currency that can't be messed with by these people that you're talking about here. And, you talked about the trafficking there and all the things that goes wrong with that. And I 100% agree with that. And that's what really pisses me off most about like this whole civil war in Bitcoin right now. And the BIP 110, the core, just like think about how much human energy has been spent debating this and fighting over this current war we have going on. And from the BIP 110 perspective and Knots, which I agree with, but their whole argument is like, we don't want to be storing these images, you know what kind of images I'm talking about here, on our servers. My server is not yours. I want to be able to say what is stored on there. But the other part too that really bothers me is like, even if that's the case, even if the Bitcoin network has zero spam on it, zero images that we're talking about here, that doesn't solve the root of the problem. That doesn't stop those pictures from actually being taken in the first place. Just because those images aren't being stored on my server, that doesn't mean they're still not happening. And so I just think that this energy that we're spending on this war between BIP 110 and Core and Knots and all this shit is really stopping our progress from destroying the fiat system. Because it's the fiat system that enables the trafficking and those images to be taken in the first place. That's the core of this whole thing, is the fiat system. And so if we just took all this energy that we're applying fighting with each other and tried to fast track the adoption of Bitcoin and let people know what the Federal Reserve is, how much damage they've done, if we focus more on that, that's what kills that system. It doesn't matter. Everything else is just a Band-Aid until we actually get rid of that fiat system. And so I think that we can be a little bit more diligent with this. And I wish that there were more people talking about like the core root of it, not just putting a Band-Aid on things. So I don't know, man. It's frustrating to me. I've been talking about this quite a bit, and I don't really lean with either side right now, honestly, because I just think it's a complete waste of our time. I think that our priorities are in the wrong spot right now. You talk about Dylan LeClaire and not being taken over, but changing his energy from orange pilling people to Bitcoin treasuries. And it's like Matt Cratter to me. He was helping so many people understand Bitcoin and spread adoption. And now he's focused on this BIP 110 stuff. And it's just like, get to the core of the problem here. That's what we need to do. And I'm sure in August, there's going to be people who are dying on this hill that are going to leave Bitcoin and slow down our growth and our adoption here because they don't want certain things on the time chain. And it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, Neil Flesher even said it too. I mean, this is where like you got to love the battle at the end of the day. And Neil Flesher, I know, had come out, wrote Modern Chains and come out in support of BIP 110. You know, but he even said it a few months ago. I think when I had him on my podcast, he's like, "Hey, whether the shit's on the time chain or not, like I don't give a shit. I'll still be running this. Like I don't care. Like this is the hill I'm going to die on regardless. Like I do not care." And that's the thing I think most people discount overall with Bitcoiners. There's enough psychopaths that are like, I don't care at all. Like you can try to do whatever you want to me, but like no matter what's on the time chain, I will still be running it, and you cannot shake me out of this position. I will die on this hill. And I think this goes back to the ETF thing as well. Like a lot of Bitcoiners have just sat back over the last couple of years and just saw like, oh, Saylor's going to take us to Valhalla. Trump, oh yeah, Trump's here, and and then they're pissed off Trump. This is like hilarious part of Bitcoiners. They thought Trump was going to do the hard work for him the last 2 years, and then they're like pissed at him now. They don't see, they're blinded now to the whole financial system being uprooted right now. And what the Iran war really was, it wasn't a nuclear this, it wasn't about Israel. Like, were all those like sub bullet points? Yeah, of course they were. It was about the city of London. Like, what are we doing here? It's about financial choke points. It was a financial war. This is like at this, I don't understand, Jor, how people still, because like we get so myopic and we get so emotional. And when we know emotion goes up, intelligence goes down. And we stop looking, we get tunnel vision, right? In hockey, like you're telegraphing your pass, you're setting your buddy up to get his head taken off, and that's how you get wrecked. And it's tough. Like you have to love the battle. You have to have patience. And these are not easy things in a world that's quickly crumbling around us. It's not like I'm sitting here saying it's an easy thing. It's simple, but not easy. And that's, and we're all dealing with this, so it's not like I'm not immune to this either, but it's just like you spend a lot of time thinking about this and what's actually happening. And you're right, like the energy, and this is the other part of it, because we sit back and Bitcoiners sit back, if you haven't noticed, we've entered the makers versus takers world. It's communist, it's not red versus blue. It's communist versus, I don't know, capitalist, communist versus builders, communist versus, everyone else, like we're basically entering this world of those who believe in truth and those who don't. Those who hate America and every single thing about it and want to destroy it versus, hey, I believe in good. I believe there are good people in the world. I believe we're all made good in God's image. Are we cracked vessels and we could have evil? We could do evil things? Of course. But that's a fundamental difference of how you view life. Am I so black-pilled and half glass empty person that I'm basically mentally ill and I just need to be, you just need to be discarded? Or am I going to be a part of this? I'm building. What am I focusing my energy on in my life? And that's to me the great disservice over the last handful of years of so many people being black-pilled and just being like, whatever. I'm sitting around waiting for shit to happen. Not building, not doing, whatever it is you're called to do. I don't know what it is, but let's go do things. Let's go build stuff. If you're technical, go be a technical person. If you're great at building houses, go build houses. If you're great at doing something for the Bitcoin network, go do it. Go write books. Go do things. And you can feel it. You can just see the vibes, the energy. And that's what we're vibes creatures. Like we said, we're not logical or rational. We're vibes, we're energy. We kind of do what the herd's doing in a way. And you got to have people that are building and actually doing shit. Because that to me is the race we're in. Are we gonna build more shit faster than the communists can take things and redistribute it and basically dissolve us into the ground? Which, by the way, if anyone actually watched the 4-hour The Exorcist, oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name now? Father Ripperger on Sean Ryan's show. He himself has said, yeah, it's pretty fascinating because the communist mindset is very similar to Satan. And I forget exactly how he says it. He said it much better than I just said it. But that's what we're dealing with right now and how it all loops together. And so those of us that sit around, which is vast majority of people, the good people, and just kind of sit around, which is what Unkster was saying, evil wins because good people stand by and do nothing. That's why evil wins, because most people have a life. We have things to do and we get distracted and we're dealing with our family and our friends and you kind of go away. Well, guess what? Evil has nothing else to do other than being evil. They suck off the system. They do stupid shit. They have nothing else going on in their life. They're Karl Marx. You're hated by your father. And so you're pissed off and you're writing, the Communist Manifesto. And I'm so pissed off at life. And I had such a bad world. And then you go do dumb shit. And then you go get other people that are in fucked up situations to come, say, yeah, you're right. It is everyone else. It's all the makers. It's all their faults that I'm not successful and that we're not successful. And that's it taps into human psyche of, hey, we're path of least resistance. We want to kind of just put our feet up. So now we're coming full circle, right? Donald Trump's here. ETFs are here. Yes. We get to kind of have it easy. Like, this is kind of nice. Like, things are just going to happen without. And wrong answer. So like, we're just going to keep dealing with this cycle until we can. But again, at the end of the day, it's a fallen world, right? It's a fallen world. And that's part of it too. Like, hey, that's part of being on Earth, is you have to deal with the bullshit. You can thank Adam and Eve for that. That I didn't design it. Don't come yell at me. So here we are.
I think that's where a lot of people, Bitcoiners, said I'm running Bitcoin no matter the drama. That's my take too.
Yeah.
And, I think that's where a lot of people got lost with the whole Q stuff, because Q really woke a lot of people up. It introduced people to topics and things that people had never seen before. And you still might say it was a whole psyop or whatever. I don't care. I don't subscribe to that theory. It was way too drawn out. It was way too precise. And only somebody like a military, whether it was a good military or bad military, they're the only ones who could pull off something like that. And so a lot of people, I think, where they got confused with the Q stuff is, like you said, they were waiting for a savior. They took that as Trump is going to be the savior. They're not going to have to do anything. He's going to come in. Exactly.
Bingo. But that's it.
But it's
that's
like
it, George. You nailed it. It's Q. The Q, like, you could be completely right, but if you're sitting back and thinking like, oh, they're going to take it and do it, wrong answer. Again, like, that's when you get out of action, you're fucked. That you nailed it.
And I think that the problem with that, and I think that let's just assume that Q was legitimate and there are good people within different parts of the government who want the best for humanity. Let's just assume that. And I think that even if I think a lot of people wanted Trump to come in and arrest all these people and write all these new laws into place and all the executive orders, which is fine, but you're cutting off the head of them. And when you do that, there's still way more behind the scenes. And that's what we've seen through the years, is like even 1776, great. A lot of good years after that, a lot of free sovereign years, but then it always comes back because politicians change. There's new policies written. Yep. Vibes change, as you said. And what is a vibe? It's a vibration. Mm-hmm. And vibration is what this universe is. And I think that that's why I'm so confident that we're going to win in this, because we're aligned with truth. We're aligned with nature. Bitcoin is aligned with the universe, the laws of the universe. It follows all this stuff. And that is undefeated. The fact that we're still sitting here today, the universe is undefeated. Yeah. And I think that that's what people got wrong about Trump, is that he wasn't going to come in and save people. I think what he was meant to do is wake people up.
He's exposer. Yeah.
Expose 100%. People.
He's an exposer. Yeah. George, we've said this before. If he would have left, no, I think there's more the good that's been done, but if he would have left, won the 2016 election, and then just walked out of the office and said, okay, my job here is done, still a massive win, right? You what did he do in 2016? Expose the media, expose the government-run media complex. And that's massive victory. 2020 exposed the election systems, right? And that you keep exposing. And now, and again, we've said this, you have mainstream media saying what Bitcoiners say, coming back to the lexicon of trust but verify, or don't trust, verify. They're using this lexicon. This is what we talk about, this nature, the architecture of society being reoriented, restructured, the vibes changing, the lexicon, all that has to change, but it doesn't happen overnight. Look, this has been 8 years, 10, 12 years since Trump got first elected. So it takes a long time. And you're right. Like, you can't come in and delete 98% of the government on day one with the executive order. As much as that, I told my parents and my family, well, what would be successful in your eyes? I'm like, well, if he just does this, but he can't. Like, you would have mass civil war and revolt if firing 3 million, 5 million federal workers, like, day one. So there has to be other ways, but he's an exposer, and he has let the toothpaste out of the tube in this whole City of London thing going back 1,000 years. That you can't unsee that now. And like, I knew a lot of these things, but in the last 6 months, I just really started piecing all of these things together. And what I'm writing about right now, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I never saw all these things and how connected they were until now. Thomas Paine and all. So that to me is Trump's greatest gift, is he is an exposer. He's not the one that's doing the things, even though he's a doer, maybe in his own life, and he gets the bag, for his family or whatever people want to say about him. He's an exposer, and he will go down as the person that exposed all these things. And like you said, the Elon stuff, the files, I do believe a lot of that's going to come probably over the next few months, but over the next couple of years, 9/11 files, Epstein, JFK, on and on and on. William McKinley, everyone that's gone against the city of London has gotten shot, basically. Newsflash, Trump got shot. Like they got shot and killed generally. So anyway, that to me, he's an exposer. So,
and I think this actually really relates to Bitcoin. We were just talking about the BIP 110 stuff, which to me is a Band-Aid. And I think that even if, let's just say that Trump came in and did everything that everybody wanted him to do, which was, expose the Epstein stuff, arrest Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Even if he did those things, I don't think people understand that there's 1,000 more Hillary Clintons waiting behind her, right? Yeah. Like that does nothing, even exposing. And that's the part of what Trump has done is woke people up and made them look into this stuff themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
And the system itself too, right? Yeah.
I don't need to see the Epstein list. I already know who's on there. That's another Band-Aid. It does nothing. Yep. And the shitty thing is like that shit's still happening.
Dude, George, look at right now with the birthright citizenship over the last week. Dude, John Roberts is getting, people are looking into his life now and being like, whoa, the Epstein stuff now, and like all kinds of stuff with John Roberts. And I was tipped off on John Roberts in 2012 with Obamacare ruling that was in 2009. They passed it on reconciliation, I believe, like December 23rd, if my memory is kind of serving me, rammed it through. Obama went out on the trail and lied about everything he was going to do. And then they rammed us through that no one, really wanted. Right. And so we had socialized medicine. We went from, the greatest healthcare in the world to, still great, probably the best in the world. Right. But it was way less, way different, way more expensive than it was 15, 20 years ago. And so now you have John Roberts. So in 2012, he changed and he was kind of like, he vote, fairly conservative for the most part, classic Bush appointee. And then 2012, they had the Obamacare ruling that he changed the law, which had gone outside the scope of the judicial branch. You're not changing. That's not your job. The legislature changes the laws. The Supreme Court of the United States, you would think the Supreme Justice of the court. Wow, I can't even think. Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It apparently doesn't know how the court operates. Right, all of a sudden, so that right there. I remember as a 25-year-old, immediately red flag of being like, whoa. Because at that time, I still thought things where you could kind of solve everything through voting in the sense of like, we can just vote, whatever. And I was like, whoa, this guy's got to be blackmailed. Like, it just dawned on me for the first time in my life of like, this guy must be blackmailed. Like, went outside of everything he's kind of ever done, outside the scope of the courts. And you're like, what the hell? Now, 10, 15, 20 years later, you're like, oh shit. Oh my gosh. And so now what just happened this past week, and Clarence Thomas' dissent is unbelievable. So if anyone hasn't read that, you got to go read that. And so now people are looking into, once again, the exposure of the system and what is actually happening. People going and questioning the system itself. Because like you said, it's not John Roberts. I always laugh at people who are like, Obama, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's not Obama, guys. There's 30 million, 40 million, 50 million people that voted for this guy, or there's 1,000 people. Eric Holder was 10 times worse than Obama. Obama was terrible, but Holder, the attorney general. I mean, so it's like you said, you have to look in the system. The system has been for so long, Antonio Gramsci, Edward Bernays, 100 years of communism, injecting it into your brain. I hate America. I hate the founding fathers. They're racist. They're slave owners and blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? You can't fight against that. There's no amount of like, I'm going to lock people up. That's going to change that. It's going to make it worse, probably, actually.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. And I think that, when you're really trying to fix the core of it, arresting people, writing executive orders, that's not going to do anything. What you have to do is you have to tell people that no one's coming to save them. You have to expose them, get them pissed off enough where they actually start taking some sort of action in their own life and becoming more sovereign. And that's something that cannot be undone. And all of a sudden we have this new tool called Bitcoin, which allows you to take full self-custody of it that nobody can take from you, which gives you even more power to be even more sovereign. And really, that's when real change happened. That's the core of this problem, is the money, is the system. And so putting these Band-Aids on things isn't going to do anything to anybody. 100%. It's actually going to make us lazier, probably, because then we're going to wait for the next person to come along when there's a next issue in our life and say, well, we need to vote for somebody who can save us out of this. It's like, fuck that. You have to do that yourself. And Bitcoin to me represents personal responsibility, sovereignty. And I think that that's the whole point of what we're living through right now.
Jory, you just made me, and again, you just made me make a connection in my head that I've been kind of ruminating on for a long time, and kind of brought all this together, which is taking action thing, the vibes, energy, whatever. But you can tell that Bitcoiners are not ready because we don't have enough node runners. There's too many people asking what Core 30 is and what BIP 110 is and not doing their homework. There's not, where I'm going with this is we've been sitting back so long. There's not enough Bitcoiners in general. But there's too many people that don't even know what's going on in the protocol itself, the consensus rules, the mempool protocol. Wow, I can't talk to it. And so you have this world where, just imagine if we had, how many Bitcoiners do you think there are on Earth? Like people that think like us, maybe 1 million, maybe 500,000,
No.
maybe you think? So like I look at like Orange Pill app, there's 20,000 people there. Like that to me for a while is what I was saying. That's probably like the real Bitcoiners, maybe like double that or triple that. So maybe say 20,000 to 100,000 real Bitcoiners on Earth. But where I'm going with this, that's not as important as what I'm about to say, which is just imagine if there are 100,000 Bitcoiners on this planet who were completely outside the system, who had their privacy stack built, who everything, they're running local models, completely local. They're running their Nostr VPN, doing all this stuff, and they are outside the system. Because you've talked about this before, I've talked about, what is FU money? It's money that cannot be stolen from you. It's not having a yacht and being in Miami with Michael Saylor. It's saying, no, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, and you're not going to tell me what to do. That's because you can't do shit to me. That's where I know we haven't got close to that point yet, because there's too many people waiting around for the Clarity Act, or they're waiting around for the Genius Act. They're waiting around for ETFs and Saylor, and they're waiting on bated breath. What's the new Jay Powell going to give me today? What is the king? Moses is coming down with the 10 commandments, like we're building a golden calf over here instead. It's just like, this is the clown world we are in. If you had 100,000 or 1 million or 500,000 or whatever people, even 50,000 people that were in America, say, and they were completely private, completely outside the system and had FU money, that's a pretty big group of people that could be like, you know what, we're doing whatever we want. Come take it. That's it. So until we get to that point, you just maybe realize all that together, there's maybe some numbers to hit and what actually has to happen in order for there to be a new Thomas Paine, and in order for there to be an actual vibe shift of being like, I have FU money, I don't care. What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it, Whitmer, Governor Whitmer in here in Michigan? What are you gonna do about Premier, Doug Ford, whatever the hell the guy, the mayor, like Bandami, like get bent.
That's the whole point, man. Like that's what I'm saying is that you piss people off, people take action, they find a way to do things, that leads them to Bitcoin. And all of a sudden, when you have Bitcoin in your back pocket, it doesn't matter what any law says, right? Like that's the difference here, is that in the old system, when you're in the fiat system, they can totally shut your life off. They can steal everything that you ever had, your bank accounts, your stock account, your gold, your house, your land, everything. They cannot take Bitcoin. And so the power that gives people as a sovereign individual is like nothing we've ever had before as human beings. And if more people understand that, everybody says, what's the value of Bitcoin? That.
Right. We're just not there yet. And so everything else not doing that is a shortcut of the process. It's us trying to ETF our way into things. We're trying to, this new consensus change is going to get more people to want Bitcoin. No one even knows what the fuck's going on inside Bitcoin, let alone like what. No one gives a shit. No one, and then the ETFs aren't going to help. Another country coming into Bitcoin is not going to help. No, it's enough people getting to a saturation point saying, I don't care what you say anymore. What are you going to do? Come take it with the cannon on it. You should just have a Bitcoin, on it and say, come take it. That's it. And we're just not there yet.
Yeah. And so that's kind of my whole issue with everything that's happening right now is like exactly what you just said. No one gives a shit yet. But what we are doing is we're going to slow down this growth. We're going to slow down that number you talked about, and we're going to slow down the adoption of Bitcoin. And the more we slow down the adoption, the longer the fiat system lasts. So we continue producing Hillary Clintons, and we continue producing corrupt judges, and the trafficking continues, and these images continue to get taken. That's what's happening. That's what we're prolonging by being distracted by these issues that do not matter at this point. We should be focused on getting rid of that system as soon as we can, and Bitcoin is the path there. And so everything that we do and all the energy that we spend talking about this stuff is energy that we could have spent explaining to people and speeding up the adoption and ending the fiat system, because that's what we need to do here. That's the mission that we're on, is to destroy the fiat misery system.
It's weird, Jor, because I believe there is an importance to people, like humans, maybe your countrymen, being on the same wavelength, in the sense of the Constitution and Declaration, like we've been talking about, Bitcoiners understanding the white paper, things of that nature. You have to understand there's like that ethos that you share. People are kind of on the same page, but where we're in this weird bridge time, though, is that very fact itself, where because we are so into, and again, like I'm not nearly as active on social media as I should be, because I don't have time with the children and stuff like that. But I'm sick of it. Like I don't want to be buried in. I don't have time to be buried in these fights all day long. I'd be away from my family and all this stuff. And like, does that kind of grind away at me? It does, actually. Like I feel like I'm out of the fight. But I have other ways that I'm fighting, and the things like, I can only control what I can control. We did a lemonade stand for 3 days last week. I'm teaching the kids business stuff. So it's like, you know what, Brandon, like, what have you been talking about? Like, just keep doing those things. I know, it's like, I want to write more. I want to write 5 books a year. I want to, it's like, hey, I can only do so much with the time I give them. But it's like, what can I control? Well, I've got 4 kids. Let's go build, good, productive members of society. And because where I'm going with this is control what you can control. And we do need, and I hate being like, hey, boomer and social media guy. Like, get your head out of social media, young kid. But there's part of that where, so much like you said earlier, which is again coming full circle to this, we're so like head down black pill, because the algo feeding you more of this, wanting your attention more, so it gets fed more. And instead of just pulling your head out of your ass and just going and doing shit, you wouldn't be that pissed off. You'd have a much, like, think of the energy of society if just 10% of people did that, and just the change in the ripple effect across society if 10% or 5% of people change their attitude by just removing themselves from social media, and the amount of good that would be done, and just the more smiles, more hellos, more productivity, more businesses that were started, like just things like that. That to me is like just the vibe that feels like so many people just kind of like looking around because we're all seeing the same thing. I mean, it's amazing how many times I will say, hey, to someone, was my wife or someone I'll know, or it could be like, you or like whoever, my friend down the street. It's like, hey, did you see that thing? And they're like, oh yeah, I saw that. I'm like, wait, how the hell are you seeing that? And I'm seeing it. Like, there's definitely a personal algo, but at the same time, like there's these things there. It's like, like how are we all seeing that? I don't know. Anyway, so.
But I just feel like that's a reflection of society, is like when you're seeing something and nobody else sees it, then you're probably in a weird spot. But if you see a video that resonates with you, for example, and there's 100,000 people who have watched it or liked it, that to me suggests like, hey, like people are, the global consciousness is rising here. And as much as social media can be dangerous, I think that it's actually, the algorithm that I have on Instagram right now is amazing. Like I'm learning things about history. I'm learning things about like copper in water in gardens that I never would have seen before had it not been for the internet and the decentralization that we're going through here. So there's good and bad of everything. And it really depends on, what your lens is of the world. And it's all in here, I think. And that's, we watched a video the other day. There was like this guy talking about, the world is run by lizards. The world's run by pedophiles. The world's run by this. It's like, I've been down all these different rabbit holes, but the one thing that has had the biggest impact is looking inside, is self-reflection, is self-accountability. I think that's what's really going to move the needle here, because even if you figured out who killed Charlie Kirk, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. That's not a good way to be spending your energy, in my opinion.
We all end up same place anyway. I mean, so what do you spend your time doing? I mean, you got to be very careful. Be very careful. That's what, like, I laugh, like you and some of these, like Edward Bernays lived to 103, or you look at like all these, the British Crown, all these people, they didn't live till they were 5,000 years old. So like, they're not like, you didn't get anything out of like scamming everyone, trafficking people, doing all this stuff. You might have like looked good to the normal person for 50 years or whatever it was, your time in the sun. You looked good at secular world, material world.
Yeah.
But guess what? You still died too, man. You're going to the same place I am, bitch. hope you played your cards right, man. So Pascal's wager, baby. You better figure it out.
And that I think, just for the people watching the show today, I just think that's a good question to ask yourself, because I think that the one of the main things that Bitcoin has taught me so far is like time, energy. people kind of think that we have and people know that we're going to die one day, but they don't really understand how important their energy is when they're allocating it throughout the day. And I think if you just kind of ask yourself, like, this rabbit hole, because Bitcoiners are very guilty of going down these different rabbit holes. And you just kind of ask yourself, like, even if I get to the bottom of this rabbit hole, what impact is that going to have on my life? Even if we figured out who killed Charlie Kirk, what is that going to do for the world? So the energy that I'm allocating to this certain topic or this rabbit hole, does it mean anything? Or could I be looking into something else? Could I be learning how to do this? Could I be practicing this that I really enjoy? Like, I think that the vote that you make every decision throughout the day is like, am I going to go on my phone? Am I going to go for a walk? Am I going to go to the gym? Am I going to watch Netflix? These are all things that really turn you into who you are. And as a global consciousness, I think the better we can allocate our time and energy towards productive things versus things that don't really matter that much, I think that's, part of the change, that's the transition we're going through right now, is people having that self-reflection and saying, is this worth my time?
100%, man. I know we've been going for a while. I don't know if you want to close it down in a couple minutes.
Yeah, let's shut her down.
Yeah.
Unless you got some more stuff to talk about here.
No. I mean, we could. The thing is, I want to be mindful of your time. You did a long one on Saturday. We could do this for another 3 hours. So that's the problem, right? That's why you did a 4-hour show on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't mean to.
I know. So I just, to me, it's vibes, it's energy. It's we're emotional creatures, and just understanding that. And like you said, voting. We all could go live under the bridge and start shooting up, or I could go start producing and being a good person and trying to give back to society. Like we all have that decision every single day that we get up. Success is a choice. Winning is a choice. Their habits, the mindset, the power, the vibes, energy. It's everything. And we need to stop looking around for Saylor or whatever. And some of it's not even consciously, right? That's the insidious part. It's not a lot. This isn't like people are waking up even being like, oh, I'm gonna wait for Saylor. It's subconscious. It's like this. We get in this herd mentality of like, you can just feel everyone sit back, right? Dylan's not memeing people to death onto it. Where's the meme factory at? Where are all these people? Where they all go? Where is everybody? Like you said, the engine, the bread and circus is kind of taken over a little bit, right? Whether it's with protocol stuff or mempool stuff, or it's with ETFs or Saylor and the Trump stuff, and on and on and on. It's like, it's all, we've lost our mojo because of that. And we're so, to me, it's just, again, what are you going to build? We need to get this certain point, 100,000, couple 100,000 people minimum of just, people that have their privacy stack built out, have this whole thing built, put in the work and time and energy to actually say, you know what, I'm done. I'm grabbing my proverbial musket and I'm out of here. And you're nothing you can do about it. That to me is when you really have, people moving and shaking. Maybe it's a couple million people, which just goes back to what we said earlier. It takes time. This takes time. We can't shortcut this process. And the shortcut in the process is where you find spam on the chain and ordinals and inscriptions and runes, all this stupid ass shit. And then we're trying to do quantum BIPs and BIP 110, like all these different things that, do we need them? Do we not? Do we need to know? Like, no one knows. People are trying to figure it out. And it's like, okay, guys, like, we've lost the plot here. Like you mentioned, Jor. So that to me is the big thing going forward. Build what we can build here today for ourselves, which will then be good for Bitcoin going forward as we are patient in our building process here.
Yeah, and I think that that's the biggest lie that we're told is like, we think of when we vote, like every 4 years you go to vote. People think that that's the only vote that they have, is that they get to choose their guy in the White House. But you vote every single second of every day. With the fact that you're watching us right now is a vote. Every time you spend your money, that's a vote. You're supporting that business, that industry, whatever you want. Every thought that you have, that's a vote of like what you're thinking about. Everything. I would honestly say that the least important vote that we have is when you go down to the polls and vote for a president. Even though the system will tell you that that's the most important thing, that's the only thing that matters. I would say that's actually the least important thing. And
one cog in the wheel, right? I mean, it's just
exactly.
That's such a great way to say it, Jor. Like media, everything makes it seem like that's the only thing that matters, when it's just one spoke in an entire wheel of things that should be done. Voting in, going in, being involved in your local community, voting in your state elections, your provincial elections, like on and on and on, building your privacy stack, doing that, doing it. It's so maddening that we get so like myopic with that. And again, I'm speaking as myself as well. I catch myself in these moments where it's like, gosh damn, like what is going on? And so That's where the patience comes in. That's where it doesn't happen overnight. And it's just, that's why we come on here and do these things, because it's just reminding ourselves, don't go crazy. Do not go crazy. Just keep one foot in front of the other, make those little choices like you mentioned each day.
And I mean, even a vote to me is like, you know, you pull out your phone, you go on Nostr, you go on Twitter. That's a vote.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a vote in your day. What you're going to have lunch? Are you going to have pizza, or are you going to have steak and eggs? That's a vote, right? And so I think that, you know, people just need to be more aware of what they're actually voting for, and the importance of their time and their energy. And yeah, man, a couple different things. Also, we got some zaps here today. We got some from Moravian, Chuck, Letha, Mark, 65 Sats and Sunsets, Joshua with a big one. Josh said, this combo is very good today. Resonates with me, as at one time I stood up against a tyrant of a manager, and ever since my employment in the fiat world has been seemingly against me. But if I dwell on those thoughts, then they win. Great combo, Jor and Brandon. And you know, we're kind of talking about how it's a transition. The more people that understand this, the more powerful we are. But I think just having Bitcoin today, it doesn't matter if we have 1 million, 2 million, you have Bitcoin, I have Bitcoin. And I think that when you have Bitcoin in self-custody and you have it protected properly, then you get a note or a letter from somebody or a phone call. It doesn't mean as much anymore as it did without Bitcoin. Yep. So yes, it's important that we continue growing this so we can destroy the fiat system, but we have this power today. So you have all your wealth in Bitcoin that's locked up, unconfiscatable. You get a letter from the IRS or the government saying you have to do this. Well, do you? Do you? You got Bitcoin in self-custody. They cannot take that from you. You have that power today to do that. And as we grow, it's going to be more and more easier. You know, it's going to be less difficult, I think, to go through the process of doing that. But that's the beauty of it. So it's a transition. We're here for it. This is how we're spending our time and energy, trying to destroy the fiat misery. And I think that's the focus for me, and I believe for Brandon as well. Final thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, Godspeed to everybody. It's a battle. Life's a battle. That's why I say it all the time. My college hockey coach used to say, you know, you got to love to battle. Hockey is a game of one-on-one battles. Life is a battle. It's not easy. So, you know, you have to make those little choices every single day, get after it. And we're going to figure it out. We will figure it out. Like we said, this whole talk has been about the arc of society leaning towards the good guys keep winning long term. Like there are a lot of little battles we lose in the course of a day or whatever it is, or course of a week, a month, but we're winning on the long arc of society. And that's where us doing what we're doing continually, the toothpaste is out of the tube. And I think that's where, again, we have to be okay with, if Bitcoin, I said this, I think last week, I don't know if it was on your show or where it was, but you know, if you gave the average Bitcoiner the question of like, hey, if we had hyper Bitcoinization in 100 years, you know, like would people take, and I forget what the other part of what the contrast was to that. But I just don't think many people would. You know, we unfortunately live in a very selfish culture right now. And
yeah, I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so to me, it's you know, we want to have our cake and eat it too, which again, is just human nature to a degree. I'm sure, you know, humans have been like that always, right? And we know they have. But that to me is just something that we, as we talk about here on Mondays, what we've been talking about today of getting yourself right, because it's a miserable life, right? If you're constantly thinking like, I should have this, I'm entitled to this and this and this and this, that to me is the killer of dreams. It's the killer of happiness, the killer of fulfillment, all those things, right? The what if, the devil's playground is what if, you know, what if I would have done that? Regret, you know, on and on and on. Don't live in that world, you know, like let's learn from our mistakes. Let's keep getting after it. We're going to have our wins and losses. You know, we're going to have some spam on the chain, and then we're not. And then we are going to have some more, and we're going to fight it more. You're like, do I want spam on the chain? No. Does Jor want it? No. Like, should there be hundreds of thousands of people being able to run nodes around the world? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hope we get there. I think we will. So do we have these things we keep an eye on? Yeah, but we have to keep building. I'm not a technical guy, you know, so it's like I have to keep an eye on these things, but I'm also I have to go build and do. You know, Jor and I like to go run our mouth. So, you know, write books, do the things, spend time with your kids, your family, build there, start businesses, local stuff. You know, we all have to do what we can do. And to me, that's the big thing. And the butterfly effect is real if we can just continue doing that. But we know the long arc society that is happening. So patience at the end of the day.
Yep, exactly. The long arc is the nature wins. And to me, Bitcoin is most aligned with nature and the laws of the universe. And I think that that's an important reminder there. You kind of mentioned something that made me think of this is like people always compare themselves with other people and how much Bitcoin they have. And that's why they try to take shortcuts. They try to leverage themselves, cheat it. But I just want people to understand that there's a millionaire out there or a multimillionaire, and they might have some Bitcoin in an ETF or on Coinbase or wherever. And you have $10,000 worth of Bitcoin or 20 million sats. You actually have much more wealth and power than they have, because they could be shut off at any second. If what they're doing in their life or what they're saying, they could get shut down any second. You have whatever you built and provide a value for in this world, you keep that in Bitcoin, even if it is a fraction of what somebody else has. You have so much more power than them overall, so much more sovereignty. And we need more people like that. So don't be chasing numbers, chase freedom and sovereignty, and figure this thing out. Take the time and energy, understand how important it is, how you allocate that, and focus on the right thing. So great show, Brandon. Might have been our best yet.
Yeah, no, it was so good. And last thing I say, you just made me think of something too. Going back to the American founding, obviously the 250, that's right, and how we started it as well when I came on. This goes back to only vast majority of these guys were not involved. They were British sympathizers, British simps, Tories, whatever. They were like, I'm apathetic, I'm indifferent, I don't care. I think Bitcoin is going to weed out a lot of people in the coming years. It's just going to be the people that are there ready to battle at the end of the day. In whatever way life is calling you to battle, it's still going to be different for everybody. But it's going to weed out the passerbys, the tourists. It's going to weed everyone out over time. And it will do its thing in order to have the right people at the right times involved. And this just, again, that's why patience is critical, and not thinking it's going to go to the moon tomorrow, or that this thing needs to happen or that needs to happen. It's just patiently grinding away every single day. TikTok next block, just like the protocol does itself. That to me it becomes clear every day in a way of, yeah, this is just going to grind people into oblivion, because look at, the debt. The debt's going to exponentially go up itself. Yeah. We know that to be true, but there's going to be all kinds of shenanigans that happen between here and, until hyper Bitcoinization. So we don't know when that is. So just, stay alert, but grind every single day, battle, because it's going to be a patient battle game.
Yep. Keep adding blocks in what you believe in, and you can't lose.
Yep.
Okay.
Good stuff, man.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back tomorrow on BTC Mastermind, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be back here next Monday for whatever we're calling this show. We haven't came up with a name yet after a couple months, but that's okay. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.